Hey guys, Silverlord here, back again with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the DC Multiverse Dawn of DC Red Hood and Sports Bike. This is not a 2-pack or a set like the Lobo with Space Hog or anything like that. These were 2 separate releases, but I'm not going to double dip with this. I'm going to do one and the other in the same video. Save your guys some time, save me some time. It is what it is. That said, this of course is brought to us by the fine folks over at McFarlane Toys, and I gotta say, very solid offering despite some of the shortcomings. So why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look, see at all Red Hood and the Sports Bike have to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with a pair of fisticuffs. And I'm very happy to see the pegs on the hands this time around. I'm not the biggest fan of the ball hinge joints, you guys know that, but I do like that he does come with a set of fists. He also comes with a thwart and a crowbar, which is accurate. Would have been nice if we got the other sword though, because he does use 2 swords sometimes, especially if we look at his collectible trading card where he has 2 swords. Spy on the back. Basically, Red Hood's turned into Deadpool now. Red and black with 2 swords and guns. Come on, man. And then we have the card for the sports bike. Bio for that. It's a sports bike, kind of a crotch rocket looking thing. So yeah, why don't we actually move Red Hood out of the way first and take a look-see at the bike, because there's not much here. It does have a stand in lieu of a kickstand, so it can hold itself up. Very nice metallic paint on that. I think this would look good with any of the Red Hood figures, to be honest with you, which we will do some comparisons to later. But if you wanted to use this with, say, the She-Spawn from the Spawn line, or possibly even the Grifter, I think it'd look good with those too. That said, it does roll back and forth, and it does pivot up here. And I will say, from a quality standpoint, it's in between the Space Hog and the Death Metal Bat Cycle for me. It doesn't feel as solid as that Death Metal Bat Cycle, but it feels a little better in hand than the Lobo Space Hog. That said, none of which are necessarily bad or anything. It's just some feel better than others. Getting the wheel in there, it does lock in okay. Oh, I say that, pop it right out. It locks in there alright. Though I will say, getting this Red Hood anyways on this bike is a freaking chore. You have to heat up the hands to get them on the handlebars first and foremost, and then you gotta pose the legs just right to sit on the foot pegs. It just feels like the figure is a little off as far as trying to get it on there. But taking a closer look at him, he does come with the hockey puck display stand racing with all McFarlane Toys releases. It said he doesn't need a ton of help standing, but it does help a little bit. But yeah, look at this. He's got a Mortal Kombat mask going on with a hood. Kind of reminds me of Scorpion. Or who's the red one? Ermac. So I guess if you want to make a custom Ermac, there's the head for it. Fortunately, the hood is attached to the jacket, so you got that to work with. He does have a couple clips on his back for his weapons. They do fit in there. Take the sword here. I think the sword probably fits a little better, if I'm being honest. Goes like that. It will stay, but the crowbar, not so much. That has a tendency to fall out. So I'll leave the sword back there for now, because that'll stay. Crowbar put on before we move on here. But as far as his articulation goes, his head is on the double ball peg, but it's very limited because of the coat. So that kind of sucks. So getting him to look up while he's on that crotch rocket looking motorcycle, kind of difficult. Shoulders will go out, back down, rotate, bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, that works fine. Heck, the single joint on the bottom gets you a lot of range. It's got a swivel hinge wrist, that works fine. Diaphragm joint crunches that far forward, that far back. Does rotate. It's not the tightest thing. That's just it. This figure is not the tightest thing. It could have been a little better, if I'm being honest. It kind of looks like he's got a gut going on. The way this body is sculpted, it's very weird. I don't know. why the Sam heck that is. But it does kind of look like he's got a beer belly going on, which I don't think that's a thing for Red Hood, so very odd there. Very odd choice. Hips will kick out, back down, rotate forward and back. Hindered by the diaper somewhat, especially when you're trying to get him on that bike. He's got a thigh cut. I don't think he's got anything up here. No, he doesn't. Double knee. Again, not the tightest thing until you get it really crunched up. Then he does have ball hinge feet that will rotate, hinge, and pivot, as well as toe joints that are pretty tight, I think, on both sides. Yes. So the knees are a little weak. I will say the torso could be tighter. I will say the shoulders where they plug in, not the best either. So he definitely has some looseness. You're going to want to bust out the keys, at least with mine. Maybe get him a little bit tighter than he is, because it does kind of stink that he is as loose as he is in some areas, but he looks good. Like, he looks damn good, but that looseness does hold him back, for me, a little bit. So why don't we clip this crowbar on to his back. I don't think it's really specific to either side, but I like to do this myself. Just because it looks good. Good silhouette. Said I wouldn't mind having two swords instead, especially since they clip in tighter. But that is Red Hood from Dawn of DC in a nutshell, really. Only major problems is the looseness and trying to get him on the bike. Like, those are the two big drawbacks for this figure for me. And this is another example of, I bought this in the store back in like November, and I was waiting on BBTS to get that sports bike for the longest time, it seemed. And he's just one of many examples of the figures I pre-ordered from BBTS but then canceled because I just found them in the store earlier and I wanted to get the videos done. That said, in hindsight, probably should have just kept the Red Hood pre-order. Maybe that one would have been tighter, but you know, it is what it is. Nothing in life is perfect, folks. So, with that being said, let me pan the camera up a little bit. There we go. Why don't we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is good old Red Hood from the Dawn of DC alongside the only other comic book Red Hood figures we have received thus far in the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line. To my knowledge, I could be missing some, but I'm not including variants here, so keep that in mind. That said, we got the first Red Hood we ever got, and as far as I'm concerned, the best one. This is the new 52 one with the gun holsters, the brown jacket, and that slick candy apple red helmet. And then we also have the Three Jokers Red Hood, which is fine for what it is, but not nearly as good as the first one. And yeah, this new one is no comparison. That first Red Hood from New 52 we got in the 2-pack with Nightwing, still my favorite. It's Red Hood how he appears to most people, I think, nowadays. They always imagine him with the jacket, the guns, that slick candy apple red helmet. It's just his most iconic look. This is a new look. It's going to take time to grow on people, and not for nothing, I neglected to mention that it does reuse some parts from the Arkham Knight Red Hood, which was a Vigigame release, hence why that's not here, on top of the fact that I don't have it. So, getting these two out of the way. Not sure how well they fit on the bike, but I think their hip range is a little better than this guy's, so maybe they'll fit. That said, let's bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibilith, and the infamous 11 Spawn, who, I'm curious, because this Red Hood's a little taller. No, he's about neck and neck with good old Al Simmons here. That said, because I mentioned it earlier, I think Jason Todd here would be a fine member of the Men in Red and Black Club. What say you? So, with that being said, time to wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and aside from the typical McFarlane Toys looseness in some of the joints on good old Red Hood, and the fact that he is a pain right in the ass to get on the sports bike, I can't reiterate this point enough. Heat up the hands before you try to get him on that thing. That way you don't snap off the handlebars or jack up the hands. You know, word of the wise, don't break your toys. I have to say that this set right here, even though it wasn't sold as a set, very, very nice. I think it looks great on display. I think if you get one, you gotta get the other. Even though I feel like we used to get a little bit more with vehicles from McFarlane Toys a couple years ago. I think this sports bike is really freaking sharp. It looks really, really nice and doesn't feel too cheap. The Lobo bike felt a little bit on the cheap side. The Death Metal Batman bike didn't. But I would say this is a little bit something in between those two, if I'm being honest. And the Red Hood figure, while it is reuse with some looseness, is fine for what it's worth. So, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this review. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.